For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. But the wilderness can offer profound lessons, but only to those who respect its power and unpredictability. This raw, untamed expanse of nature doesn't coddle. It demands resilience, preparation, and humility. Those who venture into the wild unprepared quickly learn that beauty and danger walk hand in hand. Let's venture back to the savage wilderness, where survival is earned, not given. This is Outdoor Disasters. The Magic Bus gained fame through Jon Krakauer's 1996 book, Into the Wild, which was later adapted into a film in 2007. Into the Wild recounts the true story of Chris McCandless, who abandoned his old life, hitchhiking across America before ultimately arriving in Alaska. The bus had long served as a shelter for hunters. In the summer of 1992, it became McCandless's home. McCandless ventured into Denali National Park, crossing the Teklanika River and discovering the abandoned bus, where he aimed to live off the land. He set up camp inside and survived for 122 days, arriving in April when winter still lingered. Later that summer, as hunger set in, McCandless attempted to leave but found the river impassable due to high water. He died from starvation in late August, unable to cross back. His body was discovered by moose hunters a month later. The book and movie spurred many fans to follow in McCandless' footsteps, turning the Magic Bus Trail into a popular, albeit dangerous, pilgrimage. Many adventurers became lost, injured, or even died attempting to reach the infamous bus. Due to the rising number of accidents, the state government removed the bus in 2020 through a costly operation called Operation Yutan, but not before numerous tragedies had occurred. For Piotr Markielau and Veranika Nikanava, their Magic Bus pilgrimage would be devastating. Markielau and Nikanava first met in 2018, when Nikanava traveled to Belarus that summer to shoot her final project for the New York Film Academy. Although she filmed with Markielau's colleague, it wasn't until Markielau contacted her on Facebook to request a viewing of her film that they connected. They began chatting daily, and eventually Nikanava invited him to visit her in New York, suggesting they take a trip together to the United States. Piotr arrived in December, just a day before her birthday, and they set off on a 2-week adventure to Miami and the Florida Keys. With limited funds, they camped on public beaches and couch surfed, eventually finding themselves alone on a deserted key. This adventure deepened their bond, and they fell deeply in love, deciding to get married. The couple had watched the film Into the Wild together, and Markielau had read the book a few years earlier. However, 2 weeks before their wedding, both were fired from their jobs. Undeterred, they decided to go to Alaska on their wedding day. They married on July 1st, 2019, and flew to Alaska the next morning. Piotr and Veranika, two newlyweds brimming with excitement, embarked on their honeymoon to Alaska. They spent their first few days exploring Anchorage, marveling at the city's unique blend of rugged wilderness and modern charm. However, their true adventure awaited in the north. After their time in Anchorage, they traveled to Prudhoe Bay, drawn by the lure of the Arctic's remote beauty. Determined to see the Beaufort Sea, they devised a plan to sneak through a security post. But as they approached the icy waters, security caught them, and their dream of touching the Arctic waters dashed. Despite this setback, their spirits remained high, knowing their greatest adventure was yet to come. We were heading to Healy Mountain when the driver suggested that it might be possible to cross Teklanika at that time. We quickly decided to give it a try, Markielau said. After weeks of exploration and thrill-seeking, it was finally time to make the pilgrimage to the revered Stampede Trail. The trailhead is in the town of Healy, off the park's highway down Stampede Road. As they arrived at the trailhead, their hearts pounded with anticipation. It's a 20-mile or 32-kilometer hike to the bus, with the river at mile 10. They crossed the Teklanika River, decided to have lunch at the bank of the river, and hiked through the wild terrain, finally arriving at the bus. They spent 2 nights in the Magic Bus, resting on the worn bed and eating dry noodles left by previous travelers. The bus was a symbol of the life they envisioned, filled with exploration and shared dreams of the future. They etched their names on the wall inside, joining the legacy of past adventurers. In the notebook found within, Veranika left a heartfelt message. "Feel free to send me email where we should all meet next. Who knows, maybe we will become best friends one day. Hope to meet you one day somewhere else in this beautiful world. This would be the last words Veranika Nikanava would ever write. With food supplies dwindling, it was time to leave. They set off, spirits high but wary of the swollen Teklanika River. Piotr Markielau had a sense of déjà vu as he and his wife, Veranika Nikanava, came across the place they had stopped for lunch 2 days earlier. After crossing the Teklanika River in Alaska for the first time, on their way to go back across. At the time, there was a trail paved with stones, which Markielau realized was the bottom of a creek. In the 2 days since, however, heavy rainfall had filled up the creek to the point where the couple couldn't find the trail anymore. The river, mild when they had first crossed, was running swiftly on July 25, 2019. Before crossing the river, Markielau rolled a cigarette and the two shared it, joking that it could be their last. After smoking, they took selfies on his phone and started their traverse across the river. The river is the primary obstacle in the popular but dangerous hike to the bus. It's fast and cold and can run waist-high or worse in high water. There's a rope strung across it intended to help hikers. But that doesn't guarantee safety. Piotr and Veranika stood at the edge of the Teklanika River, their faces marked with determination and a touch of fear. They had just spent a surreal night at the Magic Bus, immersed in the place's history and spirit. But now, the river's roar filled the air, its icy waters swollen from recent rains. A rope stretched across the river, tied securely to each bank, a lifeline for hikers. Piotr, despite his fatigue, gripped the rope and began the arduous crossing. The water was powerful, pushing against him with relentless force. Step by step, he made his way across. When he finally reached the opposite bank, he turned to see Veranika, her face pale with fear, struggling to follow. The river roared between them, its noise drowning out any calls for help. Piotr's eyes widened in horror as he saw her feet lose grip on the riverbed, her body jerked by the fierce current. Without a second thought, Piotr plunged back into the river, fighting the water's strength to reach his wife. He grabbed her arm and began to drag her towards the shore, his muscles screaming with effort. Veronika's grip on his arm was tight, her eyes filled with terror. For 20 agonizing seconds, they struggled together. Veronika's fingers clung desperately to Piotr's arm, but the river's force was too great. Her last whispered words, "Help me," barely reached his ears before the water tore her away, sweeping her downstream. Panic surged through Piotr as he ran along the riverbank, his eyes scanning the turbulent waters for any sign of his wife. The minutes stretched into an eternity, each second filled with dread and despair. Finally, at a bend in the river, he saw her, her lifeless body caught in a shallow crossing. Piotr waded into the water, tears mingling with the cold spray as he pulled Veronika's body to the shore. He cradled her in his arms, his heart breaking with the weight of loss. The wilderness around him stood silent and indifferent, starkly contrasting the turmoil within. He held her close, whispering words of love and sorrow into the void, knowing that the unforgiving wilderness cruelly swept away their dreams and future. Piotr left her body by the river and walked 4 hours before he was able to find other people, and called authorities to tell them his wife had been dragged underwater in the Teklanika River. A few days later, Piotr went back to the river to find another piece of his life that was lost in the river that day. A dry bag containing film with photos from just minutes before the couple crossed the river. After an investigation, authorities found no foul play. At 24 years old, Veranika Nikanava had traveled to dozens of countries and lived in the USA, Indonesia, Lithuania, and Germany. Originally from Belarus, Nikanava graduated from film school in Berlin. She spent the last 2 years of her life in New York City, furthering her education and pursuing a career as a documentary filmmaker. Brave and adventurous, Nikanava aspired to become a war correspondent, driven by a passion for highlighting human rights issues and helping others. Her final film project, Generation 328, focused on her concerns about the justice system in Belarus. Nikanava touched many hearts and will always be remembered by her colleagues, friends, and family. Remembering her daughter, Veronika's mom stated, "Nika was exceptionally kind, funny, and talented. She loved life so much and made a lasting impact on many people. Those who came into contact with her, even if just for an hour, did not remain the same. She was a gift from God to all of us. The Alaskan wilderness is as unforgiving as it is beautiful, and those who venture into its vast, untamed expanses without fully understanding the risks are courting disaster. Rivers that seem calm one moment can transform into raging torrents the next, driven by sudden rainfall or melting snow. Naive adventurers, lulled by tales of grandeur and freedom, often underestimate these swift changes, leading to tragic consequences. The wilderness of Alaska doesn't care about your dreams or naivety. It operates on its own brutal terms. Unprepared hikers can find themselves facing hypothermia, starvation, and the sheer, relentless power of nature. This isn't a playground for casual explorers. It's a deadly arena where the unprepared are punished harshly. Those who ignore the warnings and head into the wild without proper gear, knowledge, and respect for the land are not just risking their own lives, but also the lives of those who might have to rescue them. Yet, it is in this harshness that the wilderness imparts its most powerful lessons. It teaches the value of preparation, the importance of respecting nature's might, and the necessity of inner strength. For those who emerge from its trials, the wilderness bestows a profound sense of accomplishment and a deeper connection to the natural world. Embrace the wilderness in all its beauty and splendor, but never underestimate it. Let its harshness forge your resilience and its beauty inspire your soul. Remember, the wilderness is a stern mentor, and only those who heed its lessons will truly understand its profound wisdom. But remember, in Alaska, nature demands respect, and those who fail to give it are often taught the harshest lessons of all. Heed these words so you can avoid an outdoor disaster. Thank you for watching. Want more outdoor disaster content? Check out these stories I believe you'll enjoy.